2,000 years ago, a scroll existed that could cost you your life if discovered. This is not the Bible you know. This is something older, something dangerous, something the church tried to erase. Tonight, you will hear that forbidden scroll. I am here to guide you through one of history's most mysterious books. A book so controversial that religious leaders ripped it from the Bible. A book so powerful that only one church on earth still dares to keep it sacred. This is the Book of Jubilees. Some call it Little Genesis. Others call it the Testament of Moses. But those who've read it call it the truth they didn't want you to know. Somewhere in the ancient world, there existed a book that made church fathers whisper in worried tones. It told the same stories as Genesis, Adam and Eve, Noah's flood, Abraham and Isaac, Moses and the Exodus. But it told them differently. It added details the canonical Bible left out. It revealed conversations between angels and humans that no one was supposed to hear. And most disturbing of all, it suggested that time itself was carefully measured by heaven in cycles of 49 years. Each cycle was called a jubilee. According to this book, nothing in human history happened by accident. Every birth, every death, every war, every blessing, all of it recorded on heavenly tablets before it ever occurred on earth. The angels knew what would happen centuries before humans lived it. But why would such a book be banned? Think about it. If history was already written in heaven, what would that mean for free will? Were humans truly making choices, or simply acting out a script written before the foundation of the world? These questions terrified the early church, so they made a decision. The Book of Jubilees would be removed, forgotten, buried. Only the Ethiopian Orthodox Church refused to obey. They kept it, they protected it, and because of them, you can hear it tonight. Imagine being a Christian in the 4th century, hiding this scroll beneath your cloak, wondering if today would be the day they discovered it, wondering if your faith in these words would cost you everything. But tonight, you don't have to hide. You don't have to fear. We open the scroll together. We read what was forbidden. We discover what they tried to destroy. Every word you are about to hear was considered too powerful for common people to know. The church said you weren't ready. They said this knowledge was dangerous. Tonight, you decide. This is Sleep Codex. This is the Book of Jubilees. This is the Forbidden Scroll. And your journey into the hidden chapters of history begins now. Chapter 2. The Forbidden Scripture revealed the Book of Jubilees was written sometime around 150 BCE. That places it in a turbulent period of Jewish history. The Second Temple still stood in Jerusalem. The priests controlled the religious life of the people. But not everyone agreed on what was sacred and what was not. Some Jewish groups believed in strict adherence to the Torah. Others believed in oral traditions passed down through generations. And then there were the mysterious communities like the Essenes, who lived in the desert and copied ancient texts onto scrolls. It was probably among these communities that Jubilees was treasured most. But what made it forbidden? The early church councils faced a difficult task. They needed to decide which books belonged in the official Bible and which did not. The criteria seemed simple. Books had to be written by apostles or prophets. They had to agree with accepted doctrine. They had to be widely used by Christian communities. But Jubilees presented a problem. It claimed to be dictated by an angel to Moses on Mount Sinai. That alone gave it enormous authority. If the story was true, then Jubilees was not just inspired by God, it was directly revealed by heaven. That made it equal to, or perhaps even greater than, the Torah itself. Church leaders could not allow that. They argued that the book contained ideas not found in Genesis or Exodus. It emphasized angels too much. It focused on a calendar system that contradicted the one used by most Christians. It suggested that the Sabbath and festivals had to be celebrated on exact days according to a solar calendar of 364 days, not the lunar calendar most people followed. But perhaps the real reason it was banned was simpler. It made people ask questions. Why did God create angels who could sin? If the Watchers fell and corrupted humanity, was God responsible for creating beings capable of such evil? If history was already written on heavenly tablets, then were humans truly free? And if the righteous dead were already in paradise while the wicked suffered in darkness, why did the church teach something different? These questions were dangerous. They disrupted unity. They caused division. So the church made its choice. Jubilees would not be part of the Bible, but one church refused. The Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church kept Jubilees in their Bible. They believed it was scripture. They taught it in their liturgies. They passed it down through generations. And because of their courage, the complete text survived. Now here is something fascinating. Fragments of Jubilees were found among the Dead Sea Scrolls in the caves of Qumran. That discovery proved the book was ancient and widely read in Jewish communities before Christianity even existed. It was not a late forgery. It was not a fringe text. It was part of the spiritual DNA of the people who gave us the Bible. So why does it matter to you tonight? Because Jubilees offers something unique. It gives you a window into how ancient believers understood their own history. It shows you the questions they asked, the fears they had, the hopes they clung to. And in its pages, you find a version of the story where heaven is not distant and silent. Heaven is active. Angels walk among humans. God intervenes constantly. The boundary between the sacred and the ordinary is paper thin. For those of us lying in the darkness tonight, that idea is oddly comforting. The world feels chaotic, random, unfair. But what if it is not? What if there really is a plan? What if our lives are measured in Jubilees just like the ancients believed? What if every moment, every choice, every breath is recorded somewhere beyond the stars? That is the question Jubilees forces us to ask. And maybe that is exactly why they tried to hide it from us. Chapter 3. Before the Flood. When angels walked among men. In the beginning, after God created Adam and placed him in the Garden of Eden, the world was perfect. There was no death, no violence, no suffering. Adam and Eve walked with God in the cool of the evening. They knew him face to face. And when sin entered the world, it broke something fundamental in creation. But Jubilees tells us something Genesis only hints at. After Adam and Eve were cast out, they were not alone. God sent angels to watch over humanity. These were not ordinary angels. They were called the Watchers. Their mission was simple: observe the children of men, guide them when necessary, protect them from evil, teach them the ways of righteousness. For generations, the Watchers did their job faithfully. They watched as Adam's descendants multiplied. They saw Cain murder Abel. They witnessed the birth of cities and the invention of music and metalworking. They observed as humans spread across the earth. and they reported everything back to heaven. But then something went wrong. The watchers began to notice the daughters of men. The women were beautiful. Their laughter was intoxicating. Their movements were graceful. And slowly, imperceptibly, desire crept into the hearts of the angels. They were not supposed to feel this way. They were supposed to remain pure, separate, holy. But the longer they watched, the harder it became to resist. One angel, their leader, was named Semjaza. He gathered 200 watchers on the summit of Mount Hermon, and there, beneath the stars, they made a pact. They would descend together. They would take human wives, and they would share the consequences, whatever they might be. Think about the weight of that decision. These were beings who stood in the presence of God, who sang his praises, who knew the glory of heaven, yet they chose to abandon all of it for a moment of earthly pleasure. Does that sound familiar? Does it echo something in your own heart? The watchers descended. They took wives from among the daughters of men, and those women conceived. But the children they bore were not ordinary humans. They were giants, the Nephilim, creatures of immense size and strength, and they were violent. The Nephilim did not respect human life. They devoured the food meant for humans. They hunted animals to extinction. They terrorized entire communities. And when there was nothing left to consume, they turned on each other. Giant fought giant. Blood soaked the earth. Cries of agony rose to heaven day and night. But the corruption did not stop there. The watchers taught forbidden knowledge to their human wives. One angel taught the art of war. Another revealed the secrets of cosmetics and seduction. Another showed how to interpret omens and predict the future. Another explained the movements of the stars. All knowledge that humanity was not ready for. All secrets that twisted human hearts toward pride and violence. And God watched. He saw what his angels had done. He saw the giants devouring the innocent. He saw humans using forbidden knowledge to wage war and practice magic. And he made a decision. It all had to be cleansed, wiped away, reset. The flood was not just punishment, it was mercy. Because if the corruption had continued, there would have been no hope for redemption. The line between angel and human, between heaven and earth, between good and evil, had blurred beyond recognition. So God called Noah, and he commanded him to build an ark. But here is the part Jubilees emphasizes that Genesis glosses over. Before the flood, God sent his archangels to deal with the watchers: Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, Uriel. Each was given a task. Uriel warned Noah of the coming disaster. Raphael bound Azazel, the angel who taught weaponry, and cast him into darkness. Gabriel stirred the giants to destroy each other in civil war. And Michael bound Semjaza and his followers in the valleys of the earth, where they would remain imprisoned until the final judgment. Imagine the terror of those angels, beings who once sang before the throne of God, now chained in darkness, listening to the flood waters rise, knowing they would remain trapped for millennia. Their mistake was not just disobedience, it was the corruption of creation itself. And for that, there was no forgiveness. As you lie here tonight, think about the choices we make. The watchers wanted something they should not have. They justified it. They convinced themselves it was worth the cost. And in doing so, they destroyed everything they were meant to protect. How often do we do the same? How often do we reach for something forbidden, telling ourselves it will be fine, only to discover too late that the price was higher than we imagined. The story of the Watchers is a warning written in blood and tears, and it sets the stage for everything that comes after. Chapter 4. Noah, the child marked by heaven. The world was drowning in sin. Violence filled every corner. The Nephilim still roamed the land. The knowledge taught by the fallen Watchers had corrupted human hearts completely. And in the midst of this darkness, a child was born who would change everything. His name was Noah. Jubilees tells us something extraordinary about Noah's birth. When his father Lamech first saw him, he was terrified. The baby's skin glowed like sunlight. His eyes were clear and bright as the sky. His hair shimmered like silver. Lamech did not understand what he was seeing. Was this child fully human? Or was he the offspring of one of the Watchers? Lamech ran to his grandfather Methuselah, one of the oldest and wisest men alive. Methuselah listened to Lamech's fears. Then he prayed. He sought the Lord's guidance, and God revealed the truth. Noah was fully human. He was not the child of a Watcher. He was specially chosen by God. His unusual appearance was a sign, a mark, a promise. This child would survive what was coming. This child would carry the future of humanity in his hands. From his earliest years, Noah was different. While other children played and fought, Noah sat quietly and listened to the elders. He memorized the stories of creation. He learned the laws God had given to Adam. He asked questions that startled the adults around him. How could humans live righteously in a world so corrupt? Why did God allow the Watchers to fall? What would happen if judgment came? Noah did not just hear the answers, he lived them. He refused to participate in the violence around him. He avoided the forbidden practices taught by the Watchers. He married a woman chosen for him by his family, someone who shared his desire to honor God. And together, they raised 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. But Noah's righteousness was not easy. Imagine being surrounded by people who mocked you for refusing to join their festivals, for avoiding their customs, for insisting on purity in a world that celebrated corruption. Noah was not popular. He was strange, old-fashioned, judgmental, and yet he never wavered. Then one day, God spoke to him. Build an ark, a massive boat, unlike anything the world had ever seen. And when people asked why, Noah told them the truth. God was going to destroy the world with a flood. Every living thing would perish except those who entered the ark. They laughed at him. Of course they did. Rain. What was rain? In those days, the earth was watered by mist rising from the ground. No one had ever seen a storm. The idea of water falling from the sky was absurd, and a flood, covering the entire earth, ridiculous. But Noah kept building, day after day, year after year. His sons worked beside him. His wife encouraged him when he grew weary, and the people kept mocking, until the day the sky turned black, until the day water began to seep up from the ground, until the day the first drops of rain fell on faces that had never felt water from above. And then it was too late. The door of the ark closed. The flood came. And Noah, the man who had been mocked and ridiculed, became the savior of all living things. What does Noah's story teach us tonight? Perhaps this: righteousness often looks like foolishness to a corrupt world. Standing firm in truth when everyone else is compromising feels isolating, uncomfortable, costly. But there comes a moment when the flood arrives. when the laughter stops. When those who mocked realized too late that the strange man building a boat was the only one who truly understood what was coming. Noah did not save the world by being popular. He saved it by being obedient. And as you close your eyes tonight, ask yourself, am I building an ark? Or am I standing with the crowd, mocking the one who sees the storm on the horizon? Chapter 5. The Great Cleansing and Sacred Covenants. The flood was not just water. It was the unmaking of creation. Everything God had carefully ordered in 6 days was undone in 40. The waters above and the waters below met in the middle, drowning a world that had become too corrupt to save. And when the waters finally receded, Noah stepped out onto an earth that had been baptized in judgment. The first thing Noah did was build an altar. He took animals from the ark, animals that had survived by God's mercy, and he offered them as sacrifices. The smoke rose toward heaven. The smell was pleasing to the Lord. And in that moment, God made a promise. Never again would he destroy the earth with water. Never again would every living thing perish in a single catastrophe. As a sign of this covenant, God placed his bow in the clouds, the rainbow, a reminder to all generations that mercy had triumphed over judgment. But Jubilees adds something important here. The covenant was not just with Noah, it was with all of creation, the animals, the earth itself, the cycles of seasons. Everything was bound together in a sacred order, and God gave Noah specific laws to ensure that order would not break down again. First, no human could eat blood. Blood was life. It belonged to God. To consume it was to dishonor the giver of life. Second, anyone who murdered another human would face the death penalty. Human beings were made in God's image. To destroy a person was to attack God himself. Third, the Sabbath must be kept holy. 1 day in 7 belonged to rest, to worship, to remembering that life was not just about survival, but about relationship with the Creator. These were not suggestions. They were the foundation stones of a new world. And Noah taught them to his sons. He made them swear oaths to uphold these laws. He warned them that if they broke these commandments, the earth would vomit them out, just as it had vomited out the generation before the flood. But even as Noah spoke these warnings, he knew something troubling. Sin had survived the flood. It had come on board the ark, hidden in the hearts of his sons. The nature of humanity had not changed. The reset button had been pressed, but the same corruption that destroyed the first world was still lurking, waiting for the right moment to resurface. And it did not take long. After Noah planted a vineyard and made wine, he drank too much and fell asleep naked in his tent. Ham, his youngest son, saw his father's nakedness and instead of covering him, went out and told his brothers. This was not just disrespect. In ancient culture, to see your father's nakedness was to symbolically dishonor and dominate him. It was a rejection of authority, a mockery of the man who had saved them all. When Noah awoke and realized what had happened, he cursed Canaan, Ham's son. Why Canaan and not Ham directly? Because the punishment would echo through generations. Ham's descendants would serve the descendants of Shem and Japheth. The curse was not racial, it was spiritual. It represented the consequence of dishonoring the covenant, of choosing pride over humility, of thinking that survival meant you no longer needed to obey. Jubilees emphasizes that this moment was pivotal. The division of nations began here. Shem's descendants would become the line through which Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and eventually the Messiah would come. Japheth's descendants would spread across the northern lands, and Ham's descendants would struggle under the weight of their father's sin. But there is something tender in all of this. Even in judgment, God showed mercy. The rainbow still hung in the sky. The earth still produced food. The seasons still turned. And Noah, despite his failure, continued to teach his descendants the ways of God. He lived for 350 more years after the flood, watching his grandchildren and great-grandchildren multiply. And before he died, he blessed them all, reminding them that the covenant was still in place, that God's promises endured even when humans failed. As you breathe slowly tonight, think about new beginnings. The flood was the ultimate fresh start, and yet, it could not erase the brokenness inside the human heart. That required something more, something deeper, a covenant written not on stone, but on the heart itself. And that story was still to come. For now, rest in this truth. Even after catastrophic failure, God does not abandon his creation. He resets, he renews, he gives another chance. And he places a rainbow in the sky as a reminder that mercy always has the final word. Chapter 6. Abraham's journey and the test of faith. Generations passed after Noah. The earth filled with people again. Cities rose. Languages multiplied. And humanity forgot the lessons of the flood. They built idols. They worshipped false gods. They offered sacrifices to demons instead of to the Creator. And in the midst of this spiritual darkness, a child was born in the city of Ur. His name was Abram. Later, God would change it to Abraham. But when he was young, he was just a boy watching his father carve wooden idols and sell them in the marketplace. And even as a child, Abraham knew something was wrong. How could a statue made by human hands be a god? How could something that could not see, hear, or speak deserve worship? It made no sense. One night, according to Jubilees, Abraham sat under the stars and made a decision. He would worship the creator of those stars, not the moon, not the sun, not the idols in his father's house, but the one who made everything. And from that moment, his life changed forever. God spoke to Abraham, "Leave your country, leave your family, leave everything familiar. Go to a land I will show you, and I will make you into a great nation. I will bless you, and through you, all the families of the earth will be blessed." It was an impossible promise. Abraham had no children. His wife Sarah was barren. He was 75 years old, and yet he went. He packed up his household, took his nephew Lot, and walked into the unknown, trusting a voice he could barely comprehend. But the journey was not easy. Famine struck the land of Canaan. Abraham had to go down to Egypt to survive, and in Egypt, Pharaoh took Sarah into his household, thinking she was Abraham's sister. God intervened with plagues, and Sarah was returned. Abraham left Egypt richer, but shaken. He had lied to protect himself. He had compromised, and the weight of that failure followed him. Then came the war with the kings. Lot was captured. Abraham armed his servants and rescued him. And on the way back, he met a mysterious figure named Melchizedek, the king of Salem and priest of the Most High God. Melchizedek blessed Abraham, and Abraham gave him 1/10 of everything. It was the first recorded tithe, a recognition that everything Abraham had come from God. But despite all these victories, Abraham still had no son. Years passed. Sarah remained barren, and in desperation, she gave her servant Hagar to Abraham as a wife. Hagar conceived. She gave birth to Ishmael, and for a while, Abraham thought this was the fulfillment of God's promise. But God said no. Ishmael is blessed. He will become a great nation, but he is not the child of the promise. The child will come from Sarah. Abraham laughed. Sarah was 90 years old. He was 99. It was biologically impossible, but nothing is impossible with God. And 1 year later, Isaac was born, the child of laughter, the child of promise, the one through whom nations would come. Abraham loved Isaac more than anything. He was the answer to decades of waiting, the proof that God keeps his word, the future. And then God asked Abraham to do the unthinkable. Take Isaac to Mount Moriah, build an altar, and offer him as a burnt sacrifice. Imagine the horror Abraham felt. This was the child God had promised, the child through whom blessings were supposed to flow. How could God ask him to kill that child? Was this a test, a mistake, a cruel joke? But Abraham had learned something over his many years of walking with God. He had learned that obedience mattered more than understanding. So he took Isaac. He walked for 3 days. He built the altar. He bound his son. He raised the knife. And at the last possible second, the angel of the Lord stopped him. Abraham, do not lay a hand on the boy. Now I know that you fear God, because you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me. A ram was caught in a thicket nearby. Abraham sacrificed it instead, and he called that place, "The Lord will provide." Because in his darkest moment, when everything seemed lost, God provided a way forward. Jubilees tells us that this moment was not just about Abraham's faith, it was about defeating the accuser. The angel Mastema, the opponent, had challenged God. He said Abraham only obeyed because life was easy. Take away his son, and Abraham would curse you. But Abraham proved the accuser wrong. His faith was real. His love for God was greater than his love for the promise. And because of that, the promise was secured. Not just for Abraham, but for all of us who would come after. As you rest tonight, think about the things you cling to, the promises you are waiting for, the dreams you have nurtured. What if God asked you to lay them on the altar? Would you trust him enough to obey? Abraham did. And on the other side of his obedience, he discovered something profound. When you let go of what you love most, God gives it back transformed. Isaac was returned, but he was no longer just Abraham's son. He was the child of covenant, the beginning of a nation, the proof that God always provides. Chapter 7. Isaac, Jacob, and the stolen blessing. Isaac grew up in the shadow of his father's faith. He was the miracle child, the one who should have died on the altar. And perhaps because of that, he lived a quieter life than Abraham. He dug wells. He settled disputes. He married Rebekah, a woman chosen by God, and together they waited for children. Just like his parents, Isaac and Rebekah struggled with barrenness, but God answered their prayers. Rebekah conceived twins. Before the boys were born, God spoke to Rebekah. 2 nations are in your womb. 2 peoples will be separated from you. One will be stronger than the other, and the older will serve the younger. It was a prophecy that would shape everything to come. The first child came out red and hairy. They named him Esau. The second came out gripping Esau's heel. They named him Jacob, which means he grasps the heel, or he deceives. From the very beginning, these brothers were rivals. Esau became a hunter. rough, impulsive, physical. Jacob stayed close to the tents, thoughtful, cunning, strategic. Isaac loved Esau, Rebekah loved Jacob, and that division created a family torn in two. One day, Esau came back from hunting, exhausted and starving. Jacob was cooking lentil stew. Esau demanded some. Jacob saw his opportunity. "Sell me your birthright first." Esau, thinking only of his immediate hunger, agreed. He swore an oath. He gave up his position as firstborn, the double inheritance, the blessing, for a bowl of stew. And when it was done, he walked away without a second thought. The scripture says he despised his birthright. Years later, Isaac grew old. His eyes dimmed. He knew death was approaching. So he called Esau and asked him to hunt game and prepare a meal. Afterward, Isaac would give Esau the blessing reserved for the firstborn. But Rebekah overheard. She remembered God's prophecy. The older will serve the younger, and she took action. She told Jacob to deceive his father. "Bring me 2 goats. I will prepare the meal Isaac loves. You will take it to him. And when he blesses you, thinking you are Esau, the blessing will be yours." Jacob hesitated. "What if Isaac touches me? Esau is hairy. I am smooth-skinned. He will know. And instead of a blessing, I will receive a curse." But Rebekah insisted. "The curse will be on me. My son, just obey." So Jacob dressed in Esau's clothes. Rebekah put goat skins on his arms and neck to simulate Esau's hair. And Jacob went to his father. Isaac was suspicious. The voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau. He asked directly, "Are you really my son Esau?" And Jacob lied, "I am." Isaac blessed him. "May God give you the dew of heaven and the richness of the earth. May nations serve you. May peoples bow to you. Be master over your brothers. Cursed be everyone who curses you. Blessed be everyone who blesses you." The blessing was irrevocable. Once spoken, it could not be taken back. When Esau returned and discovered what had happened, he wept bitterly. He begged for a blessing. But Isaac had nothing left to give except a lesser blessing. "You will live by the sword. You will serve your brother. And one day, you will break free." Esau left filled with rage. He vowed to kill Jacob after Isaac died. Rebekah, fearing for Jacob's life, sent him away to her brother Laban in Haran. And on the way, Jacob stopped to sleep in the wilderness. He used a stone for a pillow, and that night he dreamed. He saw a ladder reaching from earth to heaven. Angels were ascending and descending, and at the top stood the Lord. God spoke to Jacob, "I am the Lord, the God of Abraham and Isaac. The land you are lying on, I will give to you and your descendants. They will be like the dust of the earth, and through you all peoples will be blessed. I am with you. I will watch over you wherever you go, and I will bring you back to this land." Jacob woke, terrified and amazed. "Surely the Lord is in this place, and I did not know it." He took the stone he had used as a pillow and set it up as a pillar. He poured oil on it and called the place Bethel, which means house of God. And he made a vow, "If God remains with me and provides for me, then the Lord will be my God. And of everything he gives me, I will give a tenth back." What do we learn from Jacob's story? Perhaps this: God's plans are not thwarted by human deception. Jacob stole the blessing, but the blessing was his by prophecy, long before he schemed for it. He could have trusted God. He could have waited. But instead, he took matters into his own hands. And the consequences followed him for years. His uncle Laban deceived him in return. His sons would later deceive him. The pattern repeated. And yet, God did not abandon Jacob. He met him in the wilderness. He promised to be with him. Because God's covenant is not based on human perfection, it is based on divine faithfulness. Jacob was flawed, broken, manipulative, but he was also chosen. And slowly, over decades, God shaped him into Israel, the one who wrestles with God and prevails. Tonight, if you have made mistakes, if you have schemed and manipulated, if you carry guilt for the ways you have hurt others, hear this. God is not done with you. Jacob's story is proof. Transformation is possible. Redemption is real. And the God who met Jacob at Bethel is the same God who meets you now in the darkness, whispering, I am with you. I will not leave you. And one day, you will become who I always intended you to be. Chapter 8. Joseph, from slavery to salvation. Jacob had 12 sons, but one stood out above the others. Joseph. He was the firstborn of Rachel, the wife Jacob loved most. And because of that, Jacob favored Joseph openly. He gave him a richly ornamented robe, a symbol of status and preference. And Joseph, young and perhaps foolish, flaunted it in front of his brothers. He told them his dreams where their sheaves of grain bowed to his, dreams where the sun, moon, and stars bowed to him. His brothers hated him for it. One day, Jacob sent Joseph to check on his brothers, who were pasturing flocks far from home. When they saw him coming, wearing that hated robe, they plotted. Let us kill him and throw him into a cistern. We will say a wild animal devoured him. Then we will see what comes of his dreams. But Reuben, the eldest, intervened. Do not kill him. Throw him into this cistern, but do not lay a hand on him. Reuben planned to rescue Joseph later. So they stripped Joseph of his robe and threw him into an empty cistern. Then they sat down to eat. While they ate, a caravan of Ishmaelite merchants passed by. Judah had an idea. Why kill our brother? Let us sell him instead. And they did. They pulled Joseph out of the cistern and sold him for 20 pieces of silver. The merchants took him to Egypt, and Joseph's life, as he knew it, ended. The brothers slaughtered a goat and dipped Joseph's robe in its blood. They brought it to Jacob. We found this. Is it your son's robe? Jacob recognized it immediately. An animal has devoured him. Joseph has been torn to pieces. And Jacob tore his clothes, put on sackcloth, and mourned for his son. He refused to be comforted. I will go down to the grave mourning for my son. Meanwhile, Joseph was sold in Egypt to Potiphar, the captain of Pharaoh's guard. But God was with Joseph. Everything he touched prospered. Potiphar noticed and put him in charge of his entire household. But Potiphar's wife also noticed Joseph. He was handsome, strong. She desired him. Day after day, she tried to seduce him. But Joseph refused. How could I do such a wicked thing and sin against God? One day she grabbed his cloak. Come to bed with me. Joseph fled, leaving the cloak in her hand. Furious and humiliated, she lied. She told Potiphar that Joseph tried to rape her. And Potiphar, believing his wife, threw Joseph into prison. Joseph spent years in that prison, forgotten, abandoned. But again, God was with him. He found favor with the prison warden and was put in charge of the other prisoners. 2 of those prisoners were Pharaoh's cupbearer and baker. Both had troubling dreams. Joseph interpreted them. The cupbearer would be restored to his position. The baker would be executed. Both came true. Joseph asked the cupbearer to remember him when he was released, but the cupbearer forgot. 2 more years passed. Then Pharaoh himself had disturbing dreams. 7 fat cows were devoured by 7 gaunt cows. 7 healthy heads of grain were swallowed by 7 thin, scorched heads. No one could interpret the dreams. Finally, the cupbearer remembered Joseph. They brought him from the dungeon, cleaned him up, and presented him to Pharaoh. Joseph listened to the dreams. Then he spoke with confidence. God is revealing to Pharaoh what he is about to do. 7 years of great abundance are coming. But afterward, 7 years of famine will follow, so severe that the abundance will be forgotten. Pharaoh should appoint someone wise to store grain during the good years, so Egypt survives the famine. Pharaoh was impressed. Can we find anyone like this man, in whom is the Spirit of God? He appointed Joseph as second in command over all Egypt. Joseph was 30 years old, from prisoner to prime minister in a single day. He married Asenath, the daughter of an Egyptian priest. They had 2 sons, Manasseh, God has made me forget all my trouble, and Ephraim, God has made me fruitful in the land of my suffering. The names revealed Joseph's heart. He had suffered, but he had not grown bitter. He trusted that God had a purpose. The 7 years of abundance came. Joseph stored grain in every city. Then the famine came, just as he predicted. It spread beyond Egypt to Canaan. And in Canaan, Jacob heard there was grain in Egypt. He sent his 10 oldest sons to buy food, but he kept Benjamin, Joseph's younger brother, at home, fearing something might happen to him. When Joseph's brothers arrived in Egypt and bowed before him, asking to buy grain, Joseph recognized them. But they did not recognize him. Joseph tested them. He accused them of being spies. He imprisoned them for 3 days. Then he released them, but kept Simeon as a hostage until they returned with Benjamin. He filled their sacks with grain and secretly returned their silver. The brothers went home, terrified and confused. Jacob refused to send Benjamin, but the famine continued. Eventually, they had no choice. They returned to Egypt with Benjamin. When Joseph saw Benjamin, he could barely control his emotions. He prepared a feast. He seated them in order of age, which astonished them. How could this Egyptian official know their birth order? He gave Benjamin 5 times as much food as the others. Then he devised one final test. He had his silver cup hidden in Benjamin's sack. After they left, he sent his steward to accuse them of theft. The cup was found. Benjamin was to become a slave. Judah stepped forward. He offered himself in Benjamin's place. "Take me instead. Our father has already lost 1 son. If he loses this one, it will kill him." That was the moment Joseph broke. He could not keep up the charade. He sent the Egyptians away and wept so loudly that they heard him throughout the palace. Then he said to his brothers, "I am Joseph. Is my father still alive?" His brothers were terrified. They expected revenge. But Joseph said something extraordinary. "Do not be distressed or angry with yourselves for selling me. It was to save lives that God sent me ahead of you. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good, to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives." Joseph saw the hand of God in his suffering. He understood that his pain had a purpose, and because of that, he forgave. As you lie in the quiet tonight, think about the ways life has hurt you, the betrayals, the injustices, the years stolen. Can you see God's hand in it? Can you trust that He was working even when you could not see it? Joseph's story whispers to us, suffering is not the end. God is writing a story, and one day you will see why. Chapter 9. Moses and the 10 Catastrophes. Generations passed. Joseph died. A new Pharaoh rose to power who did not remember Joseph or what he had done for Egypt. He looked at the Israelites, now multiplied into hundreds of thousands, and felt threatened. If war breaks out, they might side with our enemies. So he enslaved them, forced labor, brick-making, building projects. And when that did not slow their population growth, he issued a decree: throw every newborn Hebrew boy into the Nile. It was genocide. But one Hebrew woman, Jochebed, could not bear to kill her son. She hid him for 3 months. When she could hide him no longer, she made a waterproof basket, placed him inside, and set him among the reeds along the Nile, with his sister Miriam watching nearby. Pharaoh's daughter came to bathe. She found the basket. She opened it. The baby cried, and her heart melted. This is one of the Hebrew babies, but I will raise him as my own. She named him Moses, meaning drawn out, because she drew him out of the water. Moses grew up in Pharaoh's palace, educated, privileged, but he knew he was Hebrew. One day, he saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew slave. Moses looked around. No one was watching. He killed the Egyptian and hid the body. The next day, he tried to break up a fight between 2 Hebrews. One of them sneered, "Who made you a judge over us? Are you going to kill me like you killed the Egyptian?" Moses realized his crime was known. Pharaoh would execute him. So he fled into the desert. He ended up in Midian, where he married Zipporah and became a shepherd. 40 years passed. Moses, once a prince, now herded sheep in the wilderness. And then, one day, he saw something impossible. A bush burning but not consumed. He approached, and God spoke. "Moses, take off your sandals. You are standing on holy ground. I am the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I have seen the suffering of my people in Egypt. I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring them out." Moses protested. "Who am I to do this? What if they do not believe me?" "I am slow of speech." But God answered every objection. "I will be with you. Tell them I am has sent you. I will give you signs. Your brother Aaron will speak for you. Go." So Moses returned to Egypt. He and Aaron went to Pharaoh. "Let my people go, so they may worship the Lord." Pharaoh laughed. "Who is the Lord, that I should obey him? I do not know the Lord, and I will not let Israel go." And so began the 10 plagues. 10 catastrophic judgments designed to break Pharaoh's will and demonstrate the power of the God of Israel. First, the Nile turned to blood. Fish died. The water stank. Egypt could not drink. But Pharaoh's magicians duplicated the trick with their secret arts. Pharaoh's heart remained hard. Second, frogs swarmed everywhere. Beds, ovens, kneading bowls. Again, the magicians replicated it. Again, Pharaoh refused. Third, gnats infested every person and animal. This time, the magicians could not replicate it. They admitted, "This is the finger of God." Still, Pharaoh would not relent. Fourth, swarms of flies filled Egypt, but not Goshen, where the Israelites lived. That distinction was intentional. God was showing that he could protect his people even in the midst of judgment. Fifth, a plague struck Egyptian livestock. Horses, donkeys, camels, cattle, sheep, all dead. But not one Israelite animal died. Pharaoh sent men to investigate. They confirmed it. Still, he refused. Sixth, Festering boils broke out on Egyptians and their animals. Even Pharaoh's magicians could not stand because of the boils. Pharaoh did not care. 7th, hail fell like never before. Thunder, lightning, hail so severe it killed anyone caught outside. It destroyed crops and trees. But again, no hail fell in Goshen. Pharaoh admitted, I have sinned. The Lord is righteous. I and my people are in the wrong. Moses prayed. The hail stopped, and Pharaoh hardened his heart again. 8th, locusts devoured everything the hail had not destroyed. Every green thing, gone. Pharaoh's officials begged him, let the people go. Egypt is ruined. He refused. 9th, darkness covered Egypt for 3 days. A darkness so thick people could feel it. But the Israelites had light where they lived. And then came the 10th plague, the most terrible of all. At midnight, the Lord struck down every firstborn in Egypt, from Pharaoh's son to the prisoner's son to the firstborn of livestock. There was not a house in Egypt without someone dead. Wailing filled the night, but the Israelites were spared. They had followed God's command. They killed a lamb. They spread its blood on their door frames. The destroyer passed over those houses, and that night, Pharaoh summoned Moses. Go, take your people, take your flocks, leave, just go, and bless me before you leave. The Israelites left Egypt, 600,000 men, plus women and children, a vast multitude. They took with them gold, silver, and clothing from the Egyptians, who were eager to see them gone. And Pharaoh, watching them leave, felt his heart harden one last time. He gathered his army, his chariots, his horsemen, and he pursued. We will bring them back. We will crush them. They reached the Israelites at the Red Sea. The people panicked. We are trapped. We will die here. But Moses said, do not be afraid. Stand firm. You will see the deliverance the Lord will bring today. God told Moses to stretch out his staff over the sea. Moses obeyed. A strong east wind blew all night. The waters divided, and the Israelites walked through on dry ground, with walls of water on both sides. The Egyptians followed, but God threw them into confusion. Chariot wheels came off. Horses stumbled. Moses stretched out his hand again. The waters crashed down. The entire army drowned, and Israel stood on the far shore, watching their enemies sink into the sea, knowing they were finally free. Tonight, as you rest, think about the walls closing in on you, the impossibilities, the enemies pursuing, and remember, God makes a way where there is no way. He parts seas. He defeats armies. He delivers his people. Trust him, even when it looks hopeless, especially then. Chapter 10, the Passover, blood on the doorposts. The Passover was not just an event, it was a covenant, a memorial, a practice that would define Israel for all time. On the 10th day of the first month, each family was to select a lamb, a year-old male without defect. For 4 days, they would care for it, watch it, and on the 14th day, at twilight, they would slaughter it. The blood was to be collected in a basin. Then, using a bundle of hyssop, they would paint the blood on the top and sides of the doorframe of their house. That night, they would roast the lamb. No part could be eaten raw or boiled. It had to be roasted over fire. They would eat it with bitter herbs and unleavened bread. And they would eat it quickly, dressed and ready to travel, sandals on, staff in hand. This was the Passover, the meal of liberation, and the blood on the door was the sign. When the destroyer passed through Egypt at midnight, he would see the blood and pass over that house. Everyone inside would be safe. But why blood? Why a lamb? And why this specific ritual? Jubilees explains that the Passover was not invented in Egypt. It was an eternal ordinance, written on the heavenly tablets before creation. The shedding of blood, the covering of the doorframe, the eating of the lamb, all of it pointed to something deeper. Life comes through sacrifice. Deliverance comes through substitution. The lamb died so the firstborn could live. And this was to be remembered forever. Every year, on the 14th day of the first month, Israel was to celebrate Passover. It did not matter if they were in the wilderness, in Canaan, or scattered among the nations. The command was eternal, and if anyone who was able neglected to observe it, they would be cut off from the people. This was not optional. It was identity. It was covenant. It was life. But there is something haunting in the Passover story. The Egyptians suffered because Pharaoh's heart was hard. But were all Egyptians guilty? Did the servants, the children, the prisoners deserve to lose their firstborns? Jubilees wrestles with this. It explains that the Egyptians had been warned. They had seen 9 plagues. They had opportunities to repent, to let Israel go, to acknowledge the God of the Hebrews. And they chose not to. Even the common people celebrated Israel's suffering. They profited from their slavery. They were complicit. And so, when judgment came, it was just. The destroyer did not strike randomly. He struck firstborns because Egypt had tried to destroy Israel's firstborn by throwing them into the Nile. Measure for measure, justice executed by heaven. But even in judgment, God provided a way of escape. Any Egyptian could have painted blood on their doorframe. Any family could have honored the God of Israel. None did. That was their choice. And so, the Passover became a dividing line. On one side, death. On the other, life. And the difference was blood. Not ethnicity, not wealth, not power. Blood. The blood of the Lamb. As you lie here in the darkness, consider this. The Passover still speaks. It whispers that protection comes not from our strength, but from the blood applied to the doorframe of our lives. It reminds us that deliverance is not earned, it is received. And it warns us that there are nights when the destroyer passes through. And on those nights, the only question that matters is there blood on your door? Chapter 11. The laws written in heaven. After Israel escaped Egypt and crossed the Red Sea, they journeyed into the wilderness. They camped at the foot of Mount Sinai, and God called Moses to come up the mountain. For 40 days and 40 nights, Moses remained in the presence of God. The people below grew restless. They built a golden calf. They worshipped it. They broke the covenant before it was even fully established. But on the mountain, something extraordinary was happening. God was not just giving Moses the 10 Commandments. He was giving him a complete vision of history, past, present, and future. According to Jubilees, an angel dictated everything to Moses. The angel showed him the heavenly tablets, on which was written the entire story of creation, the lives of the patriarchs, the laws that govern the universe, and the future of Israel. Moses saw it all, and he was commanded to write it down. Not for himself alone, but for all generations to come. This is what Jubilees claims to be, the complete revelation given to Moses on Sinai. And the laws in Jubilees are not abstract. They are woven into the fabric of time itself. Every festival has a fixed date. The Sabbath is not just a day of rest, it is a cosmic principle. The angels in heaven keep the Sabbath. The sun and moon were created to mark the festivals. The calendar is sacred, and to deviate from it is to disrupt the order of creation. This is why Jubilees insists on a 364-day solar calendar, divided into 4 seasons of 13 weeks each. It is not arbitrary, it is ordained. The Sabbath is especially emphasized. Jubilees teaches that anyone who works on the Sabbath must die. No exceptions. Not for emergencies, not for convenience. The Sabbath is holy because it reflects the rhythm of creation. 6 days, God worked. On the 7th, he rested. And humanity, made in his image, must do the same. To violate the Sabbath is to reject the Creator. To honor it is to align with heaven. Jubilees also emphasizes sexual purity. The laws against incest, adultery, and fornication are not cultural preferences. They are divine absolutes. The fallen watchers violated these boundaries, and the result was catastrophe. The destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah was not random. It was judgment for sexual corruption. And Israel, as a holy nation, must remain pure. Intermarriage with Canaanites is forbidden, not because of ethnicity, but because of spiritual corruption. To marry into pagan families is to invite their gods, their practices, their pollution. And then there are the laws about blood. No Israelite may consume blood. Blood is life. It belongs to God. To eat it is to dishonor the Creator. And anyone who sheds human blood without just cause will have their own blood required. This is not vengeance. It is justice. Life is sacred. Murder is an assault on the image of God. And the land itself cries out when innocent blood is spilled. Jubilees teaches that these laws were not invented by Moses. They pre-existed. They were written in heaven before Adam was created. Noah knew them. Abraham kept them. And Moses simply received what had always been true. This is a radical claim. It means that morality is not relative. It is not cultural. It is cosmic. The laws of God are as fixed as the orbits of the planets, and to violate them is to step into chaos. But here is the tension. If the laws are eternal, why do people break them? If history is written on heavenly tablets, why does sin exist? Jubilees does not shy away from these questions. It teaches that humans have real choices. The tablets record what will happen, but humans still choose. The tension between divine foreknowledge and human freedom is not resolved. It is held in mystery. And perhaps that is appropriate. Some things are too deep for human understanding. We are not God. We do not see the whole picture. We walk by faith, not by sight. As you close your eyes tonight, let these laws settle into your heart, not as burdens, but as boundaries. Not as restrictions, but as protection. The God who wrote the laws is the God who loves you, and every commandment is an invitation to align your life with the rhythm of heaven. The Sabbath is not a chore, it is a gift. Purity is not repression, it is freedom. And justice is not revenge, it is the restoration of order. Trust the laws. They were written for your good, and they endure forever. Chapter 12, Closing Reflection and Sleep Invitation. And so, dear friend, we have journeyed together through the Book of Jubilees, from the beginning of creation to the giving of the law, from the fall of the Watchers to the liberation of Israel, from the flood that cleansed the world to the Passover that marked a new beginning. We have walked with Adam in the garden. We have stood with Noah as the waters rose. We have climbed Mount Moriah with Abraham. We have wept with Jacob. We have suffered with Joseph. We have witnessed the plagues. We have crossed the Red Sea, and through it all, one truth has echoed again and again. God is faithful, even when humans fail, even when angels rebel, even when nations rage. God keeps his promises. He writes history not with chaos, but with purpose. And every moment, every breath, every heartbeat is measured in his eternal plan. The Book of Jubilees was hidden for a reason. It asks uncomfortable questions. It challenges easy answers. It forces us to think about time, justice, covenant, and destiny in ways that disturb our comfortable theology. But perhaps that is exactly why we need it. Perhaps the questions are the point. Perhaps the mystery is the gift. Because in the wrestling, in the wondering, in the late-night pondering, we encounter God. Not as a distant concept, but as a living presence who meets us in our confusion and says, "Trust me, I am with you." Tonight, as the world fades and sleep approaches, let this ancient book be a companion to your soul. Let it remind you that you are part of a story much larger than yourself. A story that began before the foundation of the world and will continue long after your final breath. You are not an accident. You are not random. You are written on the heavenly tablets, known, seen, loved. And when the morning comes, when you wake to face another day, may you carry with you the certainty that the God who measured time in Jubilees is the same God who holds you now. May you walk in the rhythm of his Sabbath. May you live under the covering of his covenant. May you trust that even when the path is dark, the destination is secure, for nothing can separate you from the love of God. Not angels, not demons, not powers, not height, not depth, not anything in all creation. The Book of Jubilees ends with Moses on the mountain, receiving the law. But your story is still being written, and the God who spoke to Moses speaks to you. Listen, he is near, closer than your breath, and he is saying, "Rest now. I am watching. I will guard you through the night, and when dawn breaks, I will still be here. Sleep well, beloved. Sleep in peace, for you are held by hands that shape the stars, and no darkness can overcome the light that burns within you. Good night."